And we're live. How's everybody? Give this a minute or so we get some people to join me. As you can see, I am by myself today. Chris couldn't make it and decided to just do it myself. So, anyways, let's see. Usually by this time, okay, so we have a very special guest today, Danny Vazeuqz from Roma Craft, an awesome guy. Hey, Adrian, how's it going, man? Hey, let's see. So, I will do a little commercial, and then I will add Danny to the show. So, let's see. Today, what do we have? Okay, we have buy five, get one. It's an event exclusive cigar that Roma gives only in physical events. If you buy 10, you get three. And if you buy 20, you get seven of these. And we will actually throw in a little something extra as well. And you can get all those here at Luxury Cigar Club. You know the address. Use your members' coupons if you have them. And without further ado, or with a little further ado, who else is here? Jeff, how's it going? Yeah, Adrian, solo today, but not really solo. So, welcome, Danny. How's it going?
What is going on, brother? Really, really good.
Happy to have you
Yeah,
with
it's
us.
Friday, man.
It's Friday.
Oh, appreciate it, man. Yeah.
Every day's been Friday for the past few months. And Saturday.
Right.
The week
Yeah, I mean, we actually went back to the office like somewhere, maybe it's been about a month now since we've been working back at headquarters. So for me, it is back to being Friday. But yeah, there was a while there that I would forget what day it was. it didn't matter because it was.
Right. It still doesn't at some point for us.
Yeah.
But cool, yeah, things seem like they're getting back to normal, which is awesome. We waited long enough, and hopefully, we're not gonna see any steps back with this Corona stuff. So,
yeah, that's a hope.
Yep, and I know you work a lot from home as well, so it's you have a privilege that you can. A lot of people don't.
Yeah, for sure. That was one thing that we kind of, realized with the way we do our business already is, typically always on the phone. So, when this came, it just, instead of doing my job at the office, I was just doing my job at home, where a typical, traditionally reps would have to, or are on the road and, going to shops. So a lot of those guys, it was very tough for them to kind of transition from that to being over the phone. Right. So, thankfully it was really just another day, but just did it at home.
Fantastic. So we have Kevin Cappuccino saying, "Sup, Danny?"
What's up, brother?
Great. So usually what we do, we talk a little bit, or I'll ask you a question, a little bit about the brand, about the history, about the blend or something, and we'll roll with that. And I know that pretty much everybody here knows Roma and smoked Roma, and I think pretty much everybody loves Roma Craft. So let's see, what can we talk about that people might not know about the brand? Maybe the origins a little bit.
Sure. What's funny is I got to do a little refresher course yesterday as I took a store actually out in Arizona, and I sat virtually, of course, sat down with, I think it was like 5 or 6 of their employees, and really went over everything. And I know that the issue is that a lot of times, when you have a company that, or when you have a cigar lounge or shop, there's a lot of brands in there, right? And if you don't have a rep going and talking to those employees, it's tough to kind of remember anything about a brand that you know nothing about, right? So what's cool is that, the main thing I like to talk about Roma, if there's anyone that doesn't necessarily know us very well, or they know the cigars but don't really know the story, is one of the biggest selling points for me of this company, and selling points for me to take this job with this company, is the fact that we do own our own factory in Nicaragua. And I think you and I have talked about that. And the huge thing with that is that we control quality from when we get the tobacco into our factory to when it ships to the store, right? So it's a huge lesson, because I never really talk about flavor and taste, because those things are subjective, right? But quality, consistency, construction, those are tangible things that you can see. And if you have a company, or I'm sorry, if you have a product that or is always having those issues, then you have issues, right? It's not a quality cigar. Somebody may be able to argue that they don't like the flavor or the taste of our cigars, but what they can't argue is how consistent, how good our construction is, and the quality of our tobacco that we use, right? So I like to talk about the three kind of levels of quality checks that we have. First, we have 12 pairs in the factory, right? So at any time, there's 24 people that are making cigars, like literally rolling cigars. The others, are part of like the processing, the tobacco and packaging, stuff like that. Well, if a pair messes up a cigar and makes a segundo, they owe 3 cigars for that one, right? And that is something they definitely don't want to do. So, that roller that adds the wrapper will quality check that bunched, binder filler before she rolls the wrapper on it. And if she feels like there's something wrong with it, she'll hand it back to the buncher and say, "Hey, fix this one, so we don't have to make 3 more." So for me, that's a huge step. I mean, that is the first line of defense. Then every station has a supervisor that will check randomly by weight. So a couple grams too light, it could be a loose draw. A couple grams too heavy, it could be a tight draw. So that's the second. It'll then go into the aging room. If it's in temperance, it'll be 12 weeks. Sorry, guys, getting some sushi delivered. Perfect. Yeah, that's fine. Thank you, brother. Appreciate it. It'll be 12 weeks aging, and then Cro-Magnon is 16 weeks aging. So it goes in the aging room and comes out, and then it gets color sorted. And as she color sorts, she'll look for imperfections in the wrapper, or just something wrong with it. And then by that time, we've pretty much cleared out anything that really should make it. Obviously, it's a natural product. Some things happen occasionally, but it's really funny that with us, it's rare that it happens, right? And sometimes it does. And when you make 1.2 million cigars, if you have 1% that are bad, that is a chunk, right? But it's also pretty good numbers, right? So so then they get packaged, they get shipped here, and then us as a team, before we let them go out, we take a look at those cigars, the packaging, just making sure everything's kind of looks fine before we ship it out. So our factory in Nicaragua is called Nica Sueño, which essentially is a separate company, but it is owned by the same people. And then we are headquartered here out of Austin, Texas, and that's kind of where we ship everything out of, right? So, listen, there's nothing wrong with being made at another factory, or just owning, kind of owning the brand and being a brand owner as opposed to an actual manufacturer, right?
Let me ask you regarding that. Sorry. So before you were in Costa Rica, right? Before the Nicaraguan factory opened, was that? Did you
no. No. So what Costa Rica was Michael Rosales, which is the Ro of Roma. He owned a cigar brand called Adrian Cigars, and those were rolled and exported out of Costa Rica. So when Roma Craft first rolled the first Cro-Magnons, it was actually done under Adrian's Costa Rican Cigars, Pro Magnum. So that's kind of where that started. But they were actually always been made out of Nicaragua. And then it turned into, and those cigars were actually made at Esteban's house after he was done working at the factory he was working, right? So he'd go to work all day, then come home and roll. I don't know. At first, it was 1,000, then 5,000, then 10,000, and then he said, "Hey, I don't have time for
2 million. I don't get it. Out of his house.
What's that?
Why can't he roll 1.2 million out of his house? I don't get it.
Yeah, not just one guy. So, well, then it kind of evolved into that, and we made a makeshift type of factory in the back, and for makeshift, it was actually really well constructed. I was just there a couple years ago to see when I saw it. Concrete center block. They even had logos on the wall. I mean, it was really nice. They had the rolling tables, and they started out with a pair, and then 2, and then 3 pair, and then things kind of exploded, and it was like, hey, if this is going to get any bigger, or the goal at the time was 1 million cigars, we need a factory, right? We need at least 12 pairs. We need people processing the tobacco we're buying, because that was half of this factory at Esteban's house was really just storing a lot of tobacco. But then when you start buying more, a lot of tobacco, more tobacco than you have space for, you got to figure it out. So then that's when the Nica Sueña as we know it today was made, right? So I think today I think the number is like 67 employees out of there. And they're great. And what's funny about it is 8 years that factory's been around, we've only had like 6 or 7 people leave, right? And it's never been because they want to leave to go to another factory or whatever. Some people have moved to Europe, and then others were going to school as they worked at the factory and they got to nursing or whatever. But anyone that knows kind of how the cigar industry works, a lot of those rollers or those pairs, they stay together and they bounce factory to factory depending on who's paying the most, right? So for them to stay with us for that long is saying something on how the factories run, which is really, really cool. They take care of them. Medical insurance. Everyone has a bank account, and taken care of in all kinds of ways. So it's a great feeling to be able to be part of something like that.
That's good. So, does the factory roll for anyone else, or just?
So there's a few brands. One is called Paustani, which is made for Cigar Hustler in Florida. So it's like a red band. I'm sure you've seen it at some point. Esteban also has his own blend called brain farting right now. Guaramo. It's actually a band that has his brother and his brother on the band. So that's actually his personal brand. And then we also make Fable Cigars, which is owned by Matul out of New York City. He owns a shop there called Mom's and another one called Dad's. So we make those 3 brands. Now, combined, I think those 3 brands are probably under 100,000 cigars a year. So it's about, I know it's under 100,000. Then about another 100 or so thousand go to Europe, Germany, and the distribution centers in Germany, and then they kind of decide where that goes out there. And then the other 1 million is done here in the U.S.
The major market for anything other than
100%. Yeah, because America's number 1 in cigars by far. Germany is like the 2nd market in the world, but America does more premium hand-rolled cigars than the next like 5 or 6 countries combined. Right? I mean, it's not even close. Because in a lot of those countries, those guys buy to smoke. In the U.S., guys buy to collect, right? And they buy to never smoke it. They'll buy a box, smoke a few of them, and then the rest get put away. Or they buy 2 boxes, one gets smoked, one will never get smoked or put away or whatever, right? So,
Yeah,
that's
we're all
the type of thing that doesn't really exist in most other countries.
of the brands you just mentioned. There's another. I just know that the rep for that. There's another brand called I think it was FQ. Does that ring a bell?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, is that?
Yeah. So that's no. So that's Matthew Hunt. He's a really, really cool guy, really great guy. But his cigar, and I want to say he's made out of Noxa, I think. But if not, well, I don't know. He's not made at Nicasueño, but he's distributed by Cigar Hustler. So Cigar Hustler does the distribution for Pastani, FQ, um,
Fable.
Guayarmo, and Fable. Yeah. So that's why kind of like there's an association there, and he would be at our booth because Cigar Hustler does the distribution, but it isn't made at Nicasueño.
Well, how's your sushi? I didn't eat lunch either. I think I might. I have
Yeah, no.
a magnet. It might kick me in the butt. Let's see.
Should be too bad. Not the NFL, you'll be all right.
It's okay. It's too hot for sushi here.
Yeah.
We'll just I'm in my air-conditioned shed, but it's still 95 degrees where I'm sitting. So it's better
We
than
got into the 90s here today, but it dropped to it's 80 right now, and I'm in the shade, and it's beautiful actually.
that's beautiful. Yeah,
You guys you're in Arizona, right?
I'm in Arizona. Yeah, it's one level under.
Yeah, so it's drier there.
Yeah, it's drier. Yeah, it's drier. It doesn't make a big difference though. So what are you smoking? What are you smoking with us today?
This is actually my favorite blend in the Intemperance, the Brazilian, 5x50 Perfecto. I brought a few out, but for whatever reason, I grabbed this one like I always do. I always grab the Brazilian. So
Brazilian. Huh?
what was that?
I don't think I've smoked that one, but
Really, yeah. It's my favorite blend that we make, the Brazilian out of Piraca and the Intemperance.
do we have any, or can we get them, or they?
Yeah, absolutely. I think you've ordered them.
Mhm.
They've sold out, but we make it in 5 different sizes, and we have a like a 4.5x52 that I really like, called Avarice. So, and then like we have 3 limited edition sizes in the BA too. We take our 5x56 and we box press it, and that's called Revenge. And then we have like a Panatella and a Lonsdale in those. And man, it just never disappoints, man. I the BA for me, if they said, hey, you can only have one of those, that would be it. And I know everyone loves Cro-Magnon, everybody loves broadleaf, and I think it's phenomenal. It's great, but it's hard for me, even though I work for Roma, for that to be an everyday cigar, as it's super scarce for us, right? So
Yeah, for us too.
it can't, yeah, for everybody. I mean, it's like, we just got it a couple months ago, and it was allocated to like top 100 accounts, but we hadn't had it since the last time it shipped was like April of last year. So, a lot of people don't get it. And if shops that do get it, it just sells out really, really fast. And I think it's really just because it's not available all the time. Because when you look at the numbers, the Aquitaine, which is the same blend, just a different wrapper, sells equally as well. It's just that we can make more of those because the Habano is more available than broadleaf, right? So there's Daniel Martin agreeing with the Intemperance. I like that.
Yeah, Adrian is asking about any new broadleaf blends coming soon.
So sort of something that dropped this past week was the Craft 2020. That is a broadleaf blend, and then there's some mixes of Ecuadorian Connecticut and Habano on there. It's a 5 3/4 by 46 Grand Corona, and it was marked. It only went to 10 accounts, kind of to mark our 10-year anniversary. But it's phenomenal. And then, one thing we can get into a little later, we are having a 10-year anniversary party in September. and we'll have a 6x60 Grand Perfecto made just for that party. And it'll come in a box of 8, and then 1 cigar from each blend, including Baca and Wanderlust, Neanderthal, in a 6x60 Grand Perfecto, which is essentially like this, but just a lot bigger. And
it's only there. Where's the party at?
It's gonna be in Austin headquarters, and it'll be September 5th here at our office. So right now, tickets are available to buy, and it's going to be 12 hours of barbecue, liquor, beer, and essentially 3 concerts. It's headlined by Scarface from the Ghetto Boys. If anyone remembers the Ghetto Boys, one of my favorite hip hop bands or hip hop groups of all time. Scarface is actually out of Houston, and we're gonna have him, for the day. And then we'll have a DJ from Vegas called DJ D Money that does our Roma Craft parties in Vegas. He's actually gonna fly in and do that. So, tickets are available online, and
we're online.
They've gone. Yeah, so if you did Weaselfest Weaselfest.cigarweasel.com, because it's a sub account. It's a subdomain. So weaselfest.cigarweasel.com, and tickets are $250. But again, just think about what you're getting, right? It's 3 concerts all day, DJ, food, and you get to be at headquarters, and it's a 12-hour party. I mean, it's going to be ridiculous. And then from there, when you purchase your ticket, you can purchase up to 5 boxes per ticket of those Grand Perfectos. So if you bought 2 tickets, you can essentially get 10 boxes of those cigars. They're $100, and I think as you buy more, there's actually a bit of a discount on there. But then we're also going to be putting together these 2 Weasel packs, right? So there'll be a Weasel pack that goes out in July, which will have some little things from us, like a Weasel Fest Eco Vessel cup, which is really, really cool. And then, a T-shirt at some point, but the one will go out in July, one will go on August. And then we'll obviously ship the tickets. And then September is the party. So, man, if anyone has the time and can make it happen, it's definitely going to be, something to remember and do. And what's that?
We'll make a point of coming. I'm sorry, I'm sitting a little far from the computer. We'll make a point of coming. We'll get tickets. I've always wanted to go.
Sure.
I wanted to go to Formula One. I wanted to go to a million things in Austin that I never had a chance to. So it's a good excuse.
Yeah, that racetrack is ridiculous. I was actually planning on going to the MotoGP this year, and obviously that didn't happen. But man, I'm blanking on the name of it. It's I'll think of it. But anyway, that place is pretty crazy. But yeah, man, Austin has so many different things to do. We got a lot of guys that are coming Thursday and leaving Monday because there's just so much. We're actually going to have like a pregame party Friday, or pregame event at a shop that's right up the street from headquarters, so that everyone can just kind of meet and greet and hang out there, and we can all smoke together. And then the next day, just party time, right? So if you come early Thursday, there's a lot of stuff to do in Austin. I mean, there's a shit ton of stuff to do in Austin. And Friday and then Sunday, and then it's going to be a great time, man.
Let's see if
you think about it. Like I've gone to, man.
Definitely. We can get a bunch of club guys to come. Maybe we'll make an event of it. We'll see. What do we have?
Yeah.
We have 3 months. It's enough time to plan.
Yeah, for sure. And I've gone to, and I don't want to name any names, but I've gone to other cigar festivals, right, where it's really like a selling event, or you pay $200, $250, and you get a book that you go around to the booths and you get a cigar from the manufacturer with your little ticket, right? And it's funny, after a couple years of doing that, I'm like, guys, we're spending like $250 just to complain about the food and complain about the shitty cigars that we get that we don't really even want, right? So it's like, with this, the food is going to be our favorite barbecue places in Texas or in Austin, right? So Style Switch, which we go to all the time, and Valentina's, which is probably it's a world famous food truck trailer here in Austin, and it's great. They actually have a breakfast taco called the Real Deal Holyfield. As a big piece of brisket, fried egg, avocado. It's phenomenal. So this is the level of things that are going to be at this party. Garrison Brothers, which is a distillery. There's going to be some beer people. It's going to be
The real
bananas.
party.
So yeah, it's going to be a real party.
Because they get to rub elbows, with people that they don't even in the industry on a regular basis. That's why a lot of people like to go to all the to the events in Vegas and see all the people behind the brands that they love, because it turns more, it's not, we're not Cohiba and Monte Cristo anymore. There's so many brands, there's so many people, all of them interesting, all of them are just know how to have a good time. Whenever we go to Vegas to cigar events, it's not just, of course, we go to do business, but it's not. That's 50% of it at most. So
right.
I can get, you pay $200, you get a few cigars, but you get the Sin Pop, the Danny and Skip, and whoever, you know what I mean, when it's a regular event. So, but of course, having a real party is way better. So we'll be there.
Right. No, that'd be awesome. Yeah, we'll figure it out. Let's see, if you get a few guys, and we also have some hotels, some room blocks off, so you get a decent rate at a nearby hotel. And so we actually hired a Red Velvet event planning company to do this too, right? So it's going to be professionally done, and it's going to be dope. I'm actually pretty excited about it, and it's actually going to be my birthday weekend too, right? So it could be worse. It could be worse.
So we're tempting Daniel, as you can see here, but I don't think he'll come because September is elk season. So
you gotta look. You gotta look. Austin has I don't know when it is, but there's a huge place around here for hog shooting or hog hunting, and guys come from like Wyoming. They come down to do it. So I mean, if you just want to kill something, there's definitely a lot of stuff in Texas you kill.
Texas is a good place for that, for sure. So tell us a little bit about the cigar that we're going to be giving out today.
Oh, from the so I mean, that's typically something like we would do at an event, and if you buy 5, you get 1, and then I would really encourage people to smoke it while I'm there. And then typically we talk about it at the end of the event. And I mean, we talk about it. What this cigar is a cigar that didn't necessarily make the cut. But the idea is I've done this last year, maybe at 8 or 9 different events. Maybe it could be even more than that. And not one time has there been a complaint. And typically people are like, wow, this is phenomenal. Like, is this a new cigar? Like, what is this? And then when you tell them that that's a cigar that wouldn't even make it for us, what that does is just drive home the fact of our quality and construction process, right? Which is kind of why I led into this. I mean, that's really what we pride ourselves on. Again, taste is subjective. There's people that don't like Roma. That's fine, but you can't argue with how good the cigar is quality-wise, right? That's what makes a good cigar. Does it burn right? Is it presentable? Does it is it consistent through the cigars? If you don't like the taste, that doesn't necessarily make a bad cigar. It just means you didn't like it, right?
No, you can't put everyone with flavor, of course, but construction, quality, that's indisputable. When it's a good cigar, it's a good cigar. You don't like the
Right.
taste of other cigars, for you. But absolutely, when you're
Hmm.
talking about construction, about quality, and that all boils down to the quality control that we discussed there earlier. So good. I didn't
Yeah.
get a chance to smoke any of those because you sent them all to the factory, to our warehouse, Pinewood, and I'm sitting
Yeah.
in my Phoenix sweat house, not there, so I didn't get them yet. But
My bad.
I'll let you know. I'll let
Yeah.
you. Let's see.
Yeah. And
Hey, good.
good. No, I was going to say we smoke those a lot. Like we ship them up from Nicaragua to our headquarters, and we'll get into those all the time. And I I r- I really can't even think. Like maybe one I've had that was really kind of plugged, or maybe unraveled on me a little bit. So okay, that was right. But for the most part, I've never had a problem. And I smoke a lot of cigars.
What do you usually smoke if it's not Roma, or is it always Roma?
No, it isn't always normal. Actually, I mean, you could tell that on my Instagram feed, right? So, um, uh, on the kind of the boutique side, I love I'm sorry, I love Patina uh, cigars. There's a Habano, there's a Connecticut, and then he just released a Maduro, and they're phenomenal. They're made out of Noxa, and they're great. I like a lot of Room 101 cigars. Uh, and here or there, some JSKs are really good. So there's a lot. Foundation I love. Um, so on that end, I'm kind of all over the place. If there's anything new, I want to try it. If there's anything that getting a lot of hype and I haven't had it, I want to try it. Crown Heads does really well. There's some Illusiones that I really like. So I'm really all over the place. I'm a whore for sure. But if you're smoking 3-4 cigars a day, it's not hard to try something new all the time and
Right.
still smoke something you like, right? Um, Now on the bigger guy side, I'm a huge Opus X guy. I've always been an Opus whore, and a Fuente kind of fanboy. Always like so. I grew up in Tampa, Florida, and seeing that Fuente sign all the time for me. I never got it as a kid, but as I got older, I'm like, oh, I remember, that's what that is, right? As a kid, you don't know what a cigar is, right? So, um, well, except for my kids, of course. Um, but so I've always had kind of this Homer feel for Fuente, and especially their factory was in Puerto Rico for a little while. I'm Puerto Rican. Their factory is in Puerto Rico for a very little while, but still, there are some Davidoffs that I really love. Padrones, of course, is a textbook cigar that you know. Um, if you open a lounge, at some point you try to figure out how to get a Padron account when they're opening, right? I mean, it's just they are the bigger wave than we do it with no reps, right? You got to call and you take what you can get, and um, they are just so solid and such a foundational part of the cigar industry these days that it's like you know you you don't even think about it, right? They're kind of like the Cadillac of the cigar industry, and they do have that Cadillac price tag at points, but just another great cigar, and another great cigar out of Nicaragua. Drew States I love, right? So the Undercrown, there are some ligas that I really like. Uh, again, I'm all over the place, so it's hard when I'm still a fanboy of the cigar industry. So I'll see something that is new, or just even become friends, like Casey from Crux Cigars. Him and I
Okay.
became friends really with him before I really started smoking cigars. But you know that smoking a cigar uh, of a brand that a friend of mine owns, it's just even better, right? So that and Southern Draw Cigars, another guy out of Texas, I really like. So um, you know I'm all over the place, man. Like for real.
So tell me, actually, how long have you been smoking, and How did you get into the industry?
So my first cigar, I was like 19 years old. So I guess that was 20 years ago. But there was a huge gap in there between. my first and second cigar, because the first cigar was a terrible experience for me.
No, nobody.
Yeah, I got sick. Oh, dude, it was terrible. So, you know, I'd say about 10 years now that I've been smoking. Probably 5 years since I've gotten to the 3 or 4 a day. But the way I got into the industry was just like most guys that go to a lounge all the time. I took the passion and hobby a little too far. So, in sitting in a lounge and with my buddy and looking at him, I'm like, man, we could do this. So my initial thought was to open our own cigar lounge, which is a huge investment up front. And, we didn't know a ton about that side of it, like the retail side. So we were smart enough to know there was a lot we didn't know. But then fairly quickly, I became kind of obsessed with the idea of having my own cigar, my own brand. So I took about a year to figure out how that's done correctly, right? So, and I talk about this a lot, but if there's someone out there that has the money and you want your own cigar, you could probably go to a factory or call up a factory tomorrow, call up a label making company tomorrow, and have a cigar in your hand within 2 weeks, right?
Don't tell it.
Well, the issue with that is I know from, being on social media so much and marketing and the stuff that I did, uh, that's a really kind of a fake way to do it, right? And if someone said to me, "Hey, this is a cigar," and they're like, "Oh, who makes it?" I'm like, "Oh, it's made at this factory," and I said, "Well, I really don't have anything to do with the blending process. They just kind of shipped me something that, they had left over, and I really, I just put my band on it." Like, that's a terrible selling point, right? So if you can't say that, and then you also can't lie, because in this age of the social media and everything, you're gonna get busted super quick. So my head was like, look, I don't want to do it this way, and I can't lie about it. So how do I do it? So it took about a year of calling different factories, and different manufacturers, some small, some really big, to find someone that would be willing to give me the time and say, "Hey, come down to the factory. We'll work on something together, and we can do this." At first, it was Davidoff, in the Honduras factory, the Camacho factory in Honduras, which is funny. Kind of like where Room 101 started. And I was set. They were going to make a cigar for me. So I owned a brand called, the company was called Baracoa, and the cigar was called the Voyage. But as fate would have it, the factory, the Camacho factory, they were getting a new factory. So they said, "Hey, we would love to do this, but we can't do it until like October or November." And this was 2016. So if anyone knows about the FDA regulations, any cigar that came out after August 8th of 2016 was not going to be able to be allowed legally on the market. So like, well, I can't do that. So thankfully, although I was in talks with them, I still kind of shopped other factories, and I ended up at La Aurora in the Dominican Republic. And that was a great move for us. Manuel Lanoa, that runs their factories, their master blender, super sweet, super humble guy. I reached out to him, and he said, "Hey, I'm going to be in DC. I was living in Maryland at the time. I'm going to be in DC. Let's talk when I get there." So I go, I talk, I meet. We talked for about an hour or so, and then that was it. I was convinced. So, him and I worked on this blend, and it was exactly what I wanted. So it wasn't until a year and a half after I'd started really wanting to get into it that I was able to find what I was doing and someone willing to do it in the way I wanted to do it. And then it was just, on marketing and packaging and designing, and then it was off to the races, man. And it was great.
Yeah,
So a
exactly.
little over.
You need to have a good product, and then only then you can even start working on the company. And La Aurora was a phenomenal choice. They're a great company. We love them. I think we included them in the box at least twice or three times, maybe even. And some other brands that they roll for, like Sinistro. James is a good friend, and they just have a great product. And then afterwards, you just have to make sure that people see you and notice you, and get a stick in their hand to try it for the first time, and that's the real challenge.
Right. That's kind of the thing is that, a lot of people kind of rush the process, right? So, they'll put more time into designing the package work than, let's say, the cigar. Now, here's the truth on how this works. The packaging, the band, could get you the first sale. I mean, if you have something that's beautiful, ornate, you spend a lot of time on your box design, and it just pops and it's great, that can sell a lot of cigars the first time. But if that cigar isn't good, it doesn't matter. So the first sale is super easy, and I'm going to tell you, it's first sale is not hard at all. That second and third sale is where you really see, what you're made out of, and what your product can do. So thankfully, it worked out. I made money. I didn't get into super debt. But with the FDA stuff, so I was actually part of this. I helped start this organization called Save the Leaf. We did a protest on August 8th at the Capitol building in DC, and we united a lot of boutique companies, and even Jonathan Drew and Robert Caldwell. They don't Gurkha at the time donated a lot of cigars to us to help with this. The CRA was there. Glenn Loop did a lot for us. Cigars for Warriors was there. I mean, it was just a great event. It was 3 days, and that kind of got my name out there a little, right? So I was able to use that kind of platform, and I understood the responsibility I had, right, to not fake it till you make it. You just take your time, do it right, and it'll pay off. Well, with the FDA stuff, a year later, nothing had really changed, right? Or more, a year and a half later, nothing had changed. And if anything, things were getting worse. So I just kind of had to make the decision. It was like, okay, do I kind of, dump all this money and do all these things and potentially be told you can't sell anyway? And that took a lot of wind out of my sails. So I actually, just shut down the company on my own terms and said, hey, man, it was great. I achieved my goal. But a lot of this shit just doesn't make sense right now with the FDA stuff and us not knowing how it's going to go. So the day I made the announcement, I got hit up by a lot of people, kind of wanting the press release and stuff like that. But Skip Martin, that owns one of the owners of Roma Craft, was one of the first guys to reach out, and not with a job offer or anything, but just like, hey man, what you were doing is really cool. It sucks what happened. You ever need anything, let me know. And then it just kind of turned into a few months later, they actually had a position available, and he reached out and said, hey, let's talk. Would you be willing to move to Austin? And I said, well, if it makes sense, right? So I flew down here, interviewed for about 5 days, and well, here we are, right? So now September will be 3 years, and I think it's been a perfect marriage of Skip is one way, Mike is the other way, and I'm kind of like dead set in the middle, and I can kind of see things on both ends, and I have a passion for this brand, for this product, for our factory, for our weasels, right, for our fans and customers. So it's just a perfect mix, right? And then after a little over a year after I started, we hired another guy named John Yowler, which helped out a lot because I was hired on to help Mike Rosales with the accounts. And kind of what happened, he was doing all the traveling. It turned into me taking a lot of accounts. So it was it became a lot for me. So when we brought John on, and he was our local Zycar rep from like Louisiana up to Oklahoma and Kansas. He definitely took over that, and then some other areas of the country, and that helped a lot to be able to just give that customer service and sales support really to our customers. So it's funny how we've grown just in the last 3 years, and we're moving a lot of product just like we were before, but now the pace is much better, right? So it's great.
That's cool.
That's my long story.
No, it sounds very brief. But what we usually do is they ask people that ask us questions in the side here. I don't know if you have a sidebar, depending on the browser. We we just read the questions. I'll read them to you, but I was gonna see if we can do something different. I'm gonna try it with you, and I'm gonna put in the
Sure.
in the club. We have our own private chat room, so I'm gonna put a link and see maybe somebody wants to come up and ask the questions in person. If they do, that's great. In the meanwhile, let's see what some people want to know. I'll ask something that I want to
Yeah,
know.
for sure.
Between yourselves, who's in charge of the new blends and the tasting and the final say about any new cigar that comes out?
Yeah, so it's funny. It essentially, so new blends are a little tough right now with all the FDA stuff, right? But let's say, for instance, Baca. The way it'll go is Skip and Mike will kind of have a conversation. Skip will kind of essentially bring up the conversation to Mike, kind of get his feedback on it, and then Skip will go back to the factory and have a conversation with Esteban. That is part. He owns half of the factory, and say, hey, this is what I want to do. How do we get this done, or how do we do it? Then Esteban figures out getting the tobacco, helps Skip with the blend, and then they test, right, and they put it together. So with Baca especially, Skip put it together. Skip put some of his blends together. Esteban put some of his blends together, brought them back to the States, and then we sat around and smoked, right? So myself, John, Skip, and Mike, we sat and we smoked these test blends for Baca. And we kind of went back, we took our notes, and then, but ultimately, the one that Skip and kind of Esteban agree on together, and Mike, of course, is really where it would come from. That now the packaging and designing, that's all Skip, right? So Skip is very artistic, right? So you can draw really well, and is kind of creative on that end, and he also understands our brand really well, right? So when it's in the Cro-Magnon line and the NFL, if you look, that's a very like prehistoric type of thing, and then with the Intemperance, it's all prohibition based product. So he's really good at understanding what the message of Roma Craft is. Obviously, I mean, it's his baby, and he just kind of stays with that. So the Baca, is a pygmy tribe out of Africa that's been around forever, and it's a really, really cool history that fits really well into the branding of Roma. So that's kind of where typically most of all that stuff comes from.
Cool. We have Jay. He probably wants to ask a question. I'll do a quick commercial again in case somebody didn't hear it.
Sure.
About our specials today. Where is this? Okay, you buy any 5 sticks during the event, you get one of the exclusive sticks that we will ship with it. Buy 10 and you get 3, and buy 20 and get 7 of those, and we'll throw in something. I'm not sure what yet. So let me bring Jacob with his question.
Hey, how's it going, Danny? Can you hear me? You guys hear me all right?
There he is.
Can you hear me, bud?
Yep,
I can hear you.
hear you.
What's up, Danny? Nice to meet you. So, my
What's up,
question is, and I lit up a saber-tooth just to ask this question. What's the motivation behind the saber-tooth and the Black Irish? Why make a cigar with the fancy design and stuff? I mean, it's a little different than your guys' other stuff, as in looks.
Right. Well, no, yeah. So what's funny is any of our LEs, kind of the idea is, hey, if you like the core line of this brand, right? So let's say Sabertooth, if you really like Aquitaine, here's, and especially that size, which is the Aquitaine EMH. If you really like that, you will let's see how you like it with a bar full of Ecuador and Connecticut. And it's just a way to say, hey, look, these. Anytime you have a limited, it's kind of a way to show off our abilities, right? And like, hey, here's what our factory can do and produce, and here's our blending status, right? Like, we can blend, and we know how to put tobaccos together. So the idea of putting this barber pole, one, it's aesthetically great. I mean, I love, everyone loves the way a barber pole looks, right? But it's to kind of complement that Aquitaine EMH and see, hey, how can we make this different? How can we make this a little special? And the Black Irish, which was the first one to come out, was kind of a mix of Fomorian, which is the same blend except for it has Candela on the outside, and the Cro-Magnon EMH, which is the broadleaf. So, you know, not only did it look cool, but hey, does it work, right? Because it could look really cool, but if you smoked it and it was terrible, it wouldn't have made it, right? So, and we actually have a third barber pole, which is the Neanderthal genetic deformity. That one is actually a barber pole of the Cro-Magnon broadleaf and the Aquitaine Habano, which is really, really cool too. So then you get the Neanderthal binder and fillers with those. So with any of our LEs, that's just really kind of how it is. Like, hey, do you like the Ecuadorian, you know, you like the EC Brotherly Kindness? Here's what happens when you box press it. Or you like the Bridge of the Priest, here's what happens when you box press that. Because we don't necessarily have a limited edition that is its own blend, its own tobaccos, its own they're all kind of offsets of the core. And the idea was that, because, you know, if I have a store, let's say I have a store that says, hey man, these Aquitaines, they just really don't sell at my store. The guys don't like the Habano, or Habanos don't sell really well at our store. When the Sabertooth comes out, like, I say, well, I didn't give them to you because you said the Habanos don't sell. So I don't want to give you something that doesn't sell, right? So, you know, there's a little bit of that also, but it's really to show off, you know, our blending techniques and how good our rollers are in making that barber pole. And usually the barber pole is spot on. And, you know, even if you look at the cap where you cut off, you know, there'll be a gap there'll be a little bit of Ecuadorian Connecticut, and then the cap will be that, right? So the shoulder's Ecuadorian Connecticut, which is tough to do. You know, it's not.
You talked about that Neanderthal barber pole too. Is that out yet? That cigar is already released?
Yeah, it's been out. It typically releases once a year. Now it hasn't released this year just yet. But I really don't think we're getting a lot of it this year. Maybe towards the end of Q3 or beginning of Q4, we'll see some of that come around. But yeah, it's been released. It's out there. Some places have it still, you know, for whatever reason. Like they might save them or whatever. But you know, it is a great cigar. You know, and we'll try to get some out to Luxury, you know, if and when they come this year.
Make sure we do.
That would be awesome.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, for sure.
Thanks, man.
Yep.
Thanks.
Oh,
Good meeting you, Jack.
I cut him off, but he heard you. Yeah, I think everybody else is having a little bit of stage fright, but I appreciate Jake coming up. Let's see what else. Jeffrey's asking, how many different cigars does Roma Craft make, or how many different blends? Yeah, I'm assuming.
Right.
Yeah.
So the blends there's so Roma Craft US we make. I'm gonna move a little bit out of sun. We have we have 7 blends here in the US with Baca. So there's 3 in Intemperance. There's Cro-Magnon, Broadleaf, Cro-Magnon, Aquitaine, Baca, and Neanderthal. There is an 8th blend in Europe called Wonderlust, which is the baby blue band that a lot of people know. About 80-85% of those cigars actually end up back in the States because guys just buy them and ship them overseas. So yeah, so seven blends. Baca is still technically limited, and Cro-Magnon is allocated, so even that's technically limited. But either way, it's 34 core facings, right? So there's 15 different sizes of the 3 Intemperance blends. So, you know, 5 EC, 5 BA, 5 Whiskey Rebellion. There's 7 Aquitaine, 7 Cro-Magnon. There's only been, last year we released 2 different sizes of Baca, This year will be the Pygmy again, and then the Jengi. So that's 2 there, and then the Neanderthal has 3. There are about the same, about 30 to 32 different limited editions that we release at different times of the year, or sometimes not at all. Like last year, there was a bunch of LEs we didn't have. This year, we're going to have a few here and there of those. But, you know, the LE stuff for us is really like a cherry on top. Or I like to use it more as a reward than a carrot, right? Some companies, unfortunately, have to use those LEs as carrots to get orders.
Right.
I like to pay it back, so, that's kind of the way we have our shops will help push our brand, help push our cigar, get their numbers up. And then it's a no-brainer that when these LEs come out, it's, you can get your allocation, or we'll make sure we allocate you some of these cigars. So that's kind of it for us. Yeah.
You didn't have your calculator out, Jeff. I'll let you know. It came up to a shit ton of cigars. But yeah, that's
at least a million in the U.S. for sure.
Quite a few facings though, different sizes. That's a beautiful selection. And Daniel Martin wants to know, what's your go-to smoke in the morning if you drink coffee? I don't know if you're a coffee drinker or not, but if you are, what do you like?
Right. I'm not a big coffee drinker, but I have at times. I'm more of a Red Bull guy, if anybody follows me on social media. But the Ecuadorian Connecticut REC in the morning, which I brought one. I almost picked one. This is the Charity. This is the 4x46. So right into the office, make a double espresso with some chocolate and milk and sugar in it. And one of these in the morning is almost every morning. I'll have this. If not, I'll jump straight to the Brazilian in the morning. And then the rest of the day is sometimes you just close your eyes and grab something, or, hey, what are you smoking? Yeah, that's a good idea. Let me get that. Right. Right now we have some Wonderlust at the office, which we haven't had in months. So I'm smoking quite a bit of those, which are great.
Cool. So actually, I see now that he replied 2 minutes later. Quite a while ago. And Temperate Goodness is a great morning smoke, so he agrees with you about it. And
with the Ecuadorian Connecticut.
I love Ecuadorian Connecticut lately. There've been so many phenomenal blends with it that it just really making its way through. And let's see what else we have. Is there anybody that you guys would want to, or you specifically, of course, would want to do a collaboration with, making like a combination? I don't know if you guys have you ever done a collaboration with another manufacturer?
No, and historically, if you look at it, they typically don't work out, right? Where it's maybe the Drew Estate Rocky Patel Java might be the highest selling collaboration ever, just because it continues to sell now. But what happens is, okay, well, whose factory is going to make it? Who's actually making the more money? Who actually came up with the blend, the brand? It gets really convoluted when it comes to sales. And if you have a company that has reps and then another company has the reps, then like, whose cigar is this really? How many do you get? How many if it takes off, like, who gets more cigars than the other guy? I mean, there's a lot more to it than just like, hey, let's make a collaboration cigar together, right? And I have friends in the industry that own their own, they're big size companies, and they've done it, and they're just like, it was okay. It was the experience. Like, the cigar may have been good, but all that extra bullshit kind of does it. So for us, I mean, that's kind of why we haven't done it. And it just doesn't necessarily work out. But also with the FDA stuff, man, you got to be really careful with coming out with anything new like that. And especially if it's something that's completely different than everything you've done, and you don't have the same sizes and box sizes and stuff like that. Now, me personally, hey, fuck it, let's just talk about it. I would love to do something with Fuente, obviously, like I just said. I know Daniel Marshall and Fuente just had a collaboration, and from what I hear, that cigar is phenomenal. I also hear it's kind of expensive, right? So is what it is.
I think it's $1,500 for the box of 8.
Really? So yeah, there it is. So that would be great, man. I would love to do on from this is kind of my sneakerhead side. Like I would love to do a Supreme like Roma Craft collaboration.
Yeah,
I don't
Supreme,
even know.
they're over the hill a little bit. You need the next up and coming.
Well, maybe, but I'll tell you what. I follow Supreme on their app, and they sell out in minutes, right? So
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know about over the hill, but you know they are the kind of that standard of that type of
Hype. The
stuff.
hype.
You know, right? The hype beast, right? So I don't know. Something like that would be cool, but obviously, I don't think that ever happened.
Yeah, that would be cool. Let's work on that. And let's see
Yeah.
what else. And Kevin is asking an interesting question. I don't know if you can answer that. The undisclosed blend in Wonderlust. Can you tell us what it is, or is it?
It is undisclosed for a reason. So if I own the company, I could probably make that decision. I do not own the company, so I cannot make that decision. So no, you know, we don't talk about it.
We'd ask. What's the worst that can happen?
I can tell you is Brazilian Matafina wrapper. How about that?
Okay.
And I can tell you
can probably assume what it is.
Underpriced.
I think most people can assume what it is, especially since the only market for it is the European market, where they're allowed certain things. Here, and Alexis is asking another question, a follow-up. Will you consider selling the Wonderlust in the U.S.?
No, because of the FDA stuff also. So the blend is completely different. The box sizes are completely different than anything we do here. So it can't. Now, we are going to be selling a 6x60 version. Hey, babe, I love you. My wife coming to mess with me. I do so many of these that she likes to come out and fuck with me every once in a while. There is going to be, yeah, she'll kill me if I say that. A 6x60 Perfecto version in this 10-year anniversary box. So there's that. Now, there are stores that buy 10 boxes at a time, ship them over, and then they sell them here in their stores, or we'll put them in sampler packs to help, you know, to kind of incentivize their Roma guys, right? So, you know, that's one way of doing it. But as far as from Roma, no, I can't. Like, it would be great, but I think it would take sales from something else, right? So that's kind of the balancing act that you have to have. Like, if you come out with, I don't know, if we brought Wonderlust over for the first year, that's all, you know, anybody would want. It would be crazy, and it would hurt the other brands. It would hurt the factory because we wouldn't be able to keep up demand with it. We'd have to lower the analysis, or so we have an inventory analysis that tells us what's being made. The production schedule is what I meant. So we would have to adjust our production schedule on certain things just to be able to keep up with the demand of it. So where I understand the weasels would love it, it would probably cause more problems. And especially if not every store got it, and then some stores wanted it, and then they were upset that they didn't get it, and blah, blah, blah. So keep it in Germany if you want it, order it from Delay. Now, Wonderlust is great. I love it, but it kind of kills me because, you know, that's cash that the stores could have spent on us, or that's money that customers could have spent at their local shop, which would make them reorder. Wonderlust is great. You know, I love that. You know, I work for the company that produces that cigar, but on a personal level, it takes money out of my pocket. So there's that. But it's great. So smoke it. But.
Perfect. But we keep talking about the weasels, and I think everybody knows what they are that is watching us. But is there like an interesting backstory to the name, or was it just
No, yeah. So when Skip and Mike went to their first trade show, what was called the cigar social media at the time, or the bloggers, and we're talking about like the low end bloggers, you know, not Cigar Aficionado or the big guys that were out at the time. And again, you got to remember we're talking 10 years ago. These media guys would walk around and just essentially say, "Hey, man, I'd love to I'd love to review your cigar. I'd love to get your cigar and
Give me
smoke it,
some.
and I'll review it. And give me some. So someone says to Skip's like, oh man, here come the weasels. It's like, what do you mean? It's like, these guys, all they want is fucking free cigars all the time. They want free shit all the time. And they don't do anything because their blogs suck and nobody reads them anyway. So they're just here to get free cigars. And, you know, that's kind of where it came from. The weasels, oh, you're a weasel. Hey, let me weasel something out of you. And then, you know, as fate would have it, it became our mascot, right? So, you know, we came up with this weasel design, trademarked it, and now it's kind of a badge of honor to be a weasel with us. You know, we have our weasel team. We also have a weasel team 6, which is kind of the next level guys that, you know, will that they're really, really good at it. They get us stuff to be able to weasel stuff from us, and or people that have been doing it for a very long time. So nowadays it's a badge of honor. You know, our Facebook group is called Weasel Team 6. So you know, now we've made it a good thing, and it's great. Guys love it, and that's why we call it Weasel Fest, and why you know, we're almost sold out of 400 tickets for people to come to that. So
Everybody
it's
needs
gonna
a
be great.
mascot. We have our
You
stat.
need one, right?
We have our stat. Right there.
What is it? Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah.
It's a little stat. Okay, Jake wants to ask you another question. I'll put it back on. We're at an hour
Sure.
and change, so it will probably be our last question for today. After this, we usually do a herf with a few guys from the and gals from the club. If you want to join, you're more than welcome. I'll send you a link. Let's bring
Okay.
Jake up.
Hey, what's up again? You said that you guys have a factory, okay? And I'm assuming that you guys don't have a farm also and grow your own tobacco. I could be wrong, but that.
No, yeah, we don't.
Okay, that being said, are you able to say where you guys get a lot of your guys' leaves from? Other companies?
Sure. Yeah. So just like the way the cigar industry here is in the States, the tobacco side of it is very handshake and relationship based. In Nicaragua, Dominican, Honduras, Costa Rica, Mexico, you know, wherever you need to buy your tobacco. So, you know, you build these relationships. So there is a guy named Gus Cura that runs Oliva Tobacco, not to be confused with Oliva Cigar, two completely different companies. Oliva Tobacco has one of the most impressive facilities I've ever seen for processing tobacco. And, you know, I toured that, and I walked, it felt like miles, and I don't think we saw the whole thing. So, you know, we source a lot of our tobacco out of there, especially our wrapper leaves. A lot of our Dominican filler comes from the Dominican. So, you know, we go over there to get that. But essentially, you know, this Oliva tobacco, which isn't the only place we get it, but we get a lot of it from there. You know, we purchase it, but then they also store it for us. So our factory is not massive. So about 80% of our tobacco is actually stored there. So you know, they just have access to a lot of stuff, and they have the processing down, you know, to science, and it's perfect. So I don't know if, you know, how many people remember, but in 2018, we didn't sell Neanderthal for 10 months, which is a lifetime. And the reason was the Mexican San Andreas wrapper that we got was just not good. And little did we know that Oliva Tobacco was working with the growers in Mexico to show them how to process it and to age it and to cure it, age it, ferment it, and all of a sudden there's like, hey, it's done, and it's phenomenal. So we're like, oh shit, right? So we jumped all over it, and it was coming from the same farm, but now with this process in it, we were able to start cranking it out, and now that farm in Mexico has actually taken back the processing because they know how to do it now, and now we get Neanderthal on every shipment. So where we didn't have it for all of 2018, and when it came in 2019, it was like the back orders and the ridiculousness of getting Neanderthal, it was just gone. Like we just didn't have enough of it. And then this year we get it in every shipment, but it's essentially sold out. You know, it's only 3 sizes. So the HN, that's a 50 count box, even that'll sell out. Like right now it's on back order. The middle size SGP, we only have bundles left. The real small one, the Hoxie, I think we actually just sold out of those also, but we'll get some more next month. So those sell out about as fast as we can get them in. So yeah, I mean, it isn't a big secret to us because we really don't have anything to hide. If anyone doesn't want to tell you, it's because either A, they're not proud of where they get it, or they're trying to make the illusion that, you know, they do grow and process their own tobacco.
But that's a great anecdote.
I don't know how much of
Danny, because
right, yeah, I mean, dude,
because the San Andreas lately, as you know, the new blends that come out with it have been phenomenal, and I've never been a fan. So what you're saying now is that can explain a few things.
Yeah, I mean, if they were getting it from there, I mean, it makes total sense. I mean, I think it's. Some people say it's better than it was. I think it's just kind of back to where it was, but I do think it looks better than it did. I think it's actually a lot more oily. It's very beautiful presentation now in the Mexican San Andreas. So yeah, man, they did a fantastic job on that tobacco. And that's the thing, man, is like tobacco processing is a whole nother world, right? Like cigars is one thing, and smoking, you know, producing cigars is one thing, smoking cigars is another thing, but processing tobacco, holy shit! Like, God bless it, man. It's a science that you've had to do it for a very long time, and or have someone that has, or ready to lose a lot of money while you learn how to do it, right? So, you know, and it's also a thing. Like, we buy a 5,000 pound bale of broadleaf. You know, if it's a 30% yield of wrapper leaf, it's like, that's a great, you know, that's the goal. Like a 30% yield, that 5,000, so 30% of 5,000 pounds be good enough to go on the outside of the cigar, the wrapper. But hey, if 30% of 5,000 is what, 1,500 pounds, then you got 3,500 pounds, and you got to figure out, well, what the fuck am I going to do with this, right? Because you don't just throw it out. Right? You spent money on that.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where Neanderthal came from, right? Because we were, Cro-Magnon was selling like crazy, but then all of a sudden, you know, we were having a lot of broadleaf left over. So what do we do, right? So, you know, Roma creates this blend of Neanderthal that has broadleaf as the binder. So, being able to use broadleaf on the binder with this Mexican San Andreas, and it is by far, I mean, it is our strongest cigar, and we can get into that a little bit, but that was the perfect solution, right? And what a lot of people don't know, there are companies out there that will buy, you know, when you devein a tobacco leaf, there are companies that will buy that vein, right? And there are companies that will buy the real shitty stuff that we can't use because we are a long filler premium tobacco. And so there are companies that will buy that. But you really, really try to get out as much as you can from that really good tobacco. The Neanderthal has another tobacco in it from Connecticut that is called Green River Valley Sucker 1. So when they actually take off all the leaves from the stalk, they leave the stalk in the ground, and these two leaves start to grow, one and then the other. And that's essentially the last ditch effort that this plant is doing to survive. They are very small, very thick, full of nicotine leaves that are tricky to work with. Well, our Neanderthal blend has a half a leaf of that in the cigar. So it's the exact reason why the cigar is very, very strong, but smooth, right? It's like, it's not going to kick you in the teeth, and it's not going to punch you, but if you didn't eat, you're going to feel it 100%. When we did a Neanderthal LH, which is a 4 3/4 by 56 box press, that cigar actually had the full leaf of this Sucker 1 in there. So that although it's an LE, so that is the strongest cigar we've made. But I don't count it because it's an LE. So in our core, the Neanderthal is definitely our strongest. So it's a whole cool process, right? But the tobacco side is a whole another world, man. Whole another world. Which is cool if you can do it, but it's a lot. It's not very easy at all.
Thank you, Jake.
That's a very good answer. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Oh, thank you, bro.
And yeah, the Neanderthal is a great smoke, and it is a strong smoke.
For sure. Appreciate it.
All right, so I think we're pretty much done here. Just want to remind, if somebody has a card open and they want to get the bonus sticks, there's still some time. We'll keep it open until after the HERF. And I'm going to post a link in the chat soon. I'll send it to Danny. If you want to come say hi, you're more than welcome to. And
yeah, you know what I forgot to say, bro, and it's my fault, is anyone that buys a sampler pack, let's do the 10. Anybody does at least a 10-pack sampler pack, we'll take their names, we'll randomize them, and then you'll win a, I left it inside, the 32-ounce Roma Craft Eco Vessel bottle. You want? Give me a second, I'll go grab it. Hang on.
you got it.
So repeat. You can repeat that if you want.
You got it. I'll bring Jake back in. So I'll be by myself. What's up, Jake? Did you buy?
What's up, dog?
You want to win a bottle?
No, I have the whole bottom tray of my humidor is full of Roma Craft. It's actually probably the most of one brand of cigar that I own. But that and Padron.
That's what I like to hear.
Phenomenal.
Nice.
I fell in love with Roma Craft.
So,
really
I'll put
quickly.
your name in once just for the great question. Thanks, Jake.
No, you know what? Forget it. We'll do two. So I'll give Jake one. You send me his info for coming on here a couple times. We'll send him one bucket,
Nice.
and then
Congrats.
somebody else can win one of these. These are
Okay.
Dutch. So
Very nice.
All right.
I
So
hope
we'll do
I.
that. So buy some 10 packs and throw it in.
Cool, fantastic. So we'll do a raffle. We'll let you know. I'll send them. I'll send you the information of whoever wins. So again, thank you so much for taking some time out of your day to spend here with us and hang out a little bit. And thank you for making phenomenal cigars. Keep doing that. And
Yeah, man. Appreciate the support, man. Anytime.
absolutely, we'll see you soon.
All right, brother.
Bye.
See ya.